Everybody's in.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. So, are we live?
Mhm.
Good evening, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would we all stand up and say the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'd like to start off with kind of the mayor's report, and of course, the most exciting news is the beach replenishment is happening as we speak. They've been working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're in the low 700 block of our village. They first completed the Bayside restoration of Cupsog, and now they are doing the ocean side of West Hampton Dunes. And then once they finish West Hampton Dunes, they'll be moving a little further east into West Hampton Beach. And it's looks great, and everybody's really excited about it. The next thing, again, just a reminder that our tax grievance day is Tuesday, February 18th. So if you want to grieve your taxes, you have the opportunity to come into the village between 12 and 4, or you can send them in. And we will be appointing a Board of Assessment Review tonight, who will then basically review any tax grievances that are presented to the village. I just came back from the NICOM February legislative meeting. It was very informative. I got to meet with a bunch of mayors from other villages around the state, and also some of the city managers around the state. We also had an opportunity to meet with the governor, and laws and opportunities that we think might be beneficial to the village going forward. So I was kind of happy that I went there, and it was kind of a big learning experience. At a previous meeting, the last meeting, there was some controversy in terms of the Southampton trustees and what their jurisdiction is in the village. And I think the best way to handle that is to possibly invite somebody from the Southampton trustees to come to either the March or April board meeting and kind of discuss their position in terms of what people need and whether they need a mooring permit or not. And I think that's the best way we should handle that going forward. Robin, Liz, and I have been working on the new website. We're hoping to be launching it in April. We have a lot of information up on there. We're working on tweaking it. We're working on getting all the forms available as PDFs. Historical information. We'll be able to have the meeting agendas, the meeting minutes, and the videos all in one central location. I know the website is very difficult and challenging, and that's why we're working on revamping it. It'll also be ADA compliant. We'll also be switching to a .gov website, which is a requirement from New York State that all villages kind of get a .gov website. I happen to have applied for it in January, and sorry, I applied for it in July, not knowing it was going to be the law. And so we're at least ahead of the curve because we've already have a web development firm working on this, and our IT company will be able to move us all over to .gov email addresses, and it's much more secure. And that's what we're told we will need to deal with to contact other municipalities and other government agencies. They want to make sure that it's secure and it's coming from a .gov domain. A reminder again, the 2025 rental permits are due. If anybody's looking to rent their house, if anybody's advertising your house for rent, it's very important that you get a rental permit right away, and you put the rental permit number in the any advertisements you have. That's the village law. Another thing I think we should consider as a village is we've never had alarm permits, and Brian's going to be addressing this later, but we do have false alarms. We do have alarm issues in the off season. Again, most people are not here. So I spoke to mayors of some of the other villages, and they all seem to, West Hampton Beach, Quogue, they all seem to have a alarm permit fee, which will be a de minimis fee that we will also use to collect the information of the homeowners. So we will have their emergency contact information. If they have somebody that watches their house or protects their house in the off season, we'll have a way to contact them if there's an emergency. And this way it'll be much easier for the police and the village office to just control those situations. As I mentioned, a few months ago, I'm working with the Suffolk County Water Authority to basically, rebuild the boardwalk, from the old life-saving station and where the water pumping station is out to the bay. Still waiting for them to come back to us with an estimate. We're gonna be splitting the cost. But in the interim, we're going to be putting up kayak racks there. So you can basically store your kayak and paddle board. And again, I think we want to charge just a nominal registration fee for people to keep their kayaks there and paddle boards there, so we know who they belong to in case of a storm, in case they get lost, in case they get scared. So somebody's got. Somebody's got. Yeah,
Somebody speak.
it's you. Okay, sorry, it's getting an echo. Next, I want to announce, and we've published this in the paper, that we're having village elections this June 20th of 25 for 2 trustees positions. They're for 4-year positions, and again, we have 2 trustees that'll be running. That's Deputy Mayor Gary Tremarchi and Trustee John Eftes. Those are the positions that are up for re-election. We're planning on doing a water safety CPR training this spring. Nina McGinty's been the one organizing it. We just don't have a firm date yet. We were thinking of doing it a little bit earlier, but it was suggested we do it a little bit later when more people are out here. So as soon as we get the date, we'll be sharing that with everybody in the village. Good news on the West End Road flooding. I met a couple nights ago with the Commissioner of DPW for Suffolk County Public Works and also the Commissioner of Suffolk County Parks. And they're excited to tell me that they are working on a program to put in inlets by the entrance of Cupsog Beach. And then those inlets will take the water and go into swales. And that should basically hopefully mitigate or eliminate the flooding at the west end of Dune Road. Just coincidentally, after I spoke with them and they told me the good news today, they had 3 engineers out from Suffolk County, and they're, you know, for the 2nd or 3rd time they've been out here working on a plan and a solution to basically solve that drainage problem that has been concerns to some of the homeowners that live in the western part of the village. The New York Conference of Mayors and the Association of Towns is going to be having a lobby day up in Albany on May 4th, 2025. I plan on attending that to represent the village and try to get some money and funds and different things for the village going forward. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'd like to invite everybody, but please RSVP by tomorrow if you're coming, that we're planning on hosting a village brunch on Sunday. We thought it would be nice for the people that are here year round to get together, you know, have some coffee and have some conversation and know who's around all year. But anybody else who's coming out for the weekend is welcome to join us. Please just RSVP to Robin in the office.
Can I make one comment? I just want to make sure it's clear on the mooring permit. You'd mentioned about maybe having a representative from Southampton here. Mooring permits are due in by the end of March, so I would encourage anyone that wants a mooring permit to not wait to hear what they have to say. As far as I know, you still have to get that mooring permit and apply for it. I just don't want anyone holding up getting it, thinking that something may change after they come and have a meeting with us.
Yeah, my understanding on that too is I spoke with both the lawyer at the trustees as well as Scott Horowitz, and the lawsuit that was referred to really the settlement pertained to the ocean side, because there was some geobags that were placed there, and the trustees lost the case to control what was put on the oceanside beach. However, there were misstatements made about the bay side. The trustees still, and the judge affirmed this, control the bay bottom. And so mooring permits, dock permits go on the bay bottom, just to be very clear. If you do not apply for those, you risk losing your boat. So, I just think it's prudent to follow through. We can have maybe somebody come out here, but I verified this myself and I just want to be clear that that's what they said. And I talked to their lawyer and I believe they sent over the legal cases so that we could review them, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I think that, in speaking with them, that we need an agenda before they come of items. The moorings are just one thing. There's probably several things on it that you can put together on an agenda that's gonna come up and should come up. So,
well, that's why I figured, instead of us, some people saying this or that, let them come and basically make a presentation to the village. And that's, okay, and I don't have, and you feel we should do it in March, I'm fine with that too, that's not a
well,
problem.
it'd be fine if
Assuming
they
they're
could make
available.
a presentation,
Right.
but maybe we should have our own comments.
It's a good idea. I just want to make sure no one holds off on getting their permit and loses out because they're thinking it may not be needed and then you try to get somebody to put it in and they won't unless you have a permit and then don't have a boat out there.
And the permit's good for 3 years, if I recall.
Yeah, and it's
so
only
not-
$300
right,
for
right.
3
So
years.
it's not, so most people, you don't have to get it annually.
Yeah.
As far as, the financial world, basically, the audit for 23-24 is in the final stages. Liz, our treasurer, is working with the auditors to get them that information so they can finalize that audit. And hopefully we should have that, done by the next meeting. Howard, Liz and I are working on the village budget for 25-26. We are looking to do an analysis between last year's budget, this current year's budget, and then what we think we need to budget for next year going forward. So we'll hope to be having that, working on that sometime in March, and so we can present it in a timely fashion to the village. The next would be, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. So recently there've been some concerns raised by community members regarding wildfires. So I reached out to both Suffolk County Fire Marshal's Office and the New York State Forest Rangers to get their input. They both agreed with our assessment that the village is not within a designated wildfire risk area. But one of the forest rangers actually met with me yesterday, took a walk around, looked at aerial photos. And he explained that brush fires in communities like ours tend to be brief and less damaging due to several factors. So high humidity in coastal areas, we have a higher humidity level, which slows down the spread of, and reduces their intensity. Limited vegetation, shorelines have sparse vegetation, low growing vegetation, so there's less fuel. The beach grasses hold moisture, so if they do burn, it's short lived and it doesn't really spread. The biggest advantage he said we have is, if you're familiar with what a controlled burn is or a prescribed burn, is what the forest rangers do. They'll go out into a heavily wooded area where there's fuel, like old timber on the ground. They burn all that off so that if a fire does erupt, it won't be able to spread. He said you have nature gave you one here. If you look from the drone footage, you can see there are, wherever we have these patches of vegetation, they're surrounded by large areas of sand. So he said essentially it wouldn't really spread. So, and the best thing he said that you have is West End Beach is very close and they have a great response time and they most likely would knock down anything that became a concern. But, basically what I wanted to say is we understand that people saw these wildfires in California and I understand the concern. Obviously, our hearts go out to all those people. But the fact is, this is not the same type of environment. That's a desert environment. This is a very humid environment and it's just the risk isn't there. That doesn't mean people should not be safe.
Right.
Obviously, if you're having a fire, you should do it safely. And if you feel that there is a fire, it's not safe, call us and we'll make a determination.
So Brian, one thing I was wondering, if we could get something in writing, I'll tell you why. A lot of the insurance companies are now looking at
I
a
will
lot
tell
of
you, I don't
communities.
think they will do that for that reason. I could ask.
I mean, if there's something that they came out here and they saw and what their opinion is.
Well, there is a map that you can look at online and you can see on the map, if you look really carefully, the pencil thin line that is Dune
Right.
Road doesn't even show kind of where the bridges are, but if you use your imagination, you can kind of guess where they are. And there is nothing there that indicates that this is in that zone, and that's never been brought to the attention.
We'll ask them
by
if there's
Walmart.
any report or anything.
I will absolutely
because-
ask them. They wouldn't give me something in writing even to bring to the meeting tonight. I think that's something that would have to go through like the county.
Or if there's
legal.
any other reports that've been issued, not necessarily all
Yeah.
over Long Island, I think it's a helpful thing for insurance companies to see that are gonna raise premiums based on the wildfires. We can say, look, this is the report.
This conversation was really not spurred by, from the standpoint of people having bonfire permits and people properly citing the bonfire and where they do it. And that's really where this conversation of concern came from one of the residents. It wasn't so much of a wildfire, but it was more about having a fire a certain distance out in the dunes, not close to your house, and making sure that, I mean, we do have plenty of water and sand around to extinguish
Right,
it.
and he did
That's
address
where it
that as
came
well.
from.
He said the odds of, it's nearly impossible for an ember because of this environment, for that ember to somehow make it to an area to create a fire, which again, will most likely be able to be contained.
Right.
We had one house that I can remember on Cold Lane that was a complete loss, and I have pictures of it, even though it was probably 20 years ago. It was a very windy day, and you can actually see all the smoke is going to the east, the west rather. The wind was out of the east, and there's a house right next door that didn't get touched. It's because there's nothing really to spread the fire to an adjoining house. There's no canopy trees.
Right.
There's nothing to kind of wick it over.
Brian,
So
I
the-
think you have a question,
Oh,
but
I just wanted
we'll
to
say who you are and what is your.
Robin Latham, 929 Dune Road. Okay, sorry.
yes.
I had a couple of homeowners come, I guess, to me to tell Irwin that their concern is not as much the owners, but rather the renters, that if there's something that the village can provide to maybe when they get their rental permits or whatever, for homeowners to give to the renters, because I think the concern of this resident was that apparently renters seem to not necessarily put their bonfires in the correct spot.
So
And they're too close to the homes and to the dune grass.
when they come in for a bonfire application, this is all explained to them, it's given to them. So if you observe or if someone observes a fire, it doesn't matter what, as long as they feel it's unsafe, that's all I need to hear. Let us know and let the officer go out, take a look at it and make that determination.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe we can, as a village, create a little handout or something that we can give the renters with the rental permit. That
I have a
should be
rental
left-
handbook, yeah, that's.
That should be left in the house for the renters, you know, if they're giving them, the renters, the bonfire permit. With the permit should come the rules and regulations or whatever, some kind of information sheet.
That's a great idea. Sorry, I'm not dismissing you, it's just your,
that's-
so the next, just to touch on briefly, if anyone has a neighbor that has exterior lighting, which is directly affecting them. So if you have a neighbor and their lights are shining and you feel it's a violation of the code, just let us know and the building inspector is gonna go and determine if it's a violation or not. And then the last thing, just briefly to touch on, is with the fire alarm permits, I don't wanna speak to fee schedules, cause it's not my position, but as far as the benefit of it to us is, we will know that someone has an alarm, that who the owner is, because a lot of houses are LLCs, so at least we have somebody to reach an emergency, but also that their alarm company has the right information for us, as well as us having the right information for them. So it closes a lot of loops and would help us out a lot.
You know, I wonder if we could, like, have, when everybody's here, like on one of the big weekends, have like Friday night lights, you know, to steal a phrase, and just, you know, say to everybody, look, we want this to be neighborly, let's talk to one another, and if their lights are shining in your windows or across the street or something like that, make adjustments, so that it doesn't have to be a back and forth, and John doesn't have to come here at night. You know, I mean, he works during the day, you don't really see the lights until at nighttime, where we could have a night where we just say, okay, turn all your lights on, and then, you know, I don't know, it's just a thought, you know, where we
Right.
could knock it all off and get, you know, the town of Southampton has dark sky code, we got it all on our tax bill, and the stars are beautiful out here. If the place is ablaze in lighting, you know, it kind of ruins the ambiance, and I've heard from several different residents that this is an issue, so maybe we can think about a day where we can address it.
Neighbor, why don't neighbor just talk to neighbor. Wouldn't
That's,
that be-
well, that's,
make
that's,
the most
that's,
sense?
that's the common sense way to solve all problems. Unfortunately, some neighbors don't agree.
That someone
Okay.
left on in my house,
Okay.
he called me and we
Alright.
turned it off, I mean, it was, isn't
The-
that the easiest way?
Yeah, the building inspector traditionally has enforced this, but because he only works during the day, we, you know, when we have had the concern when somebody calls, we send it along to him and he takes a look at it and sees if it is or is not a
Right.
violation of that specific code, because it's involved with the construction of building a house. It was always kind of felt that it was better suited for him to handle those, but we'll support whatever, you know, you discuss and want us
Okay,
to do.
I
with
think
that.
that is a good idea.
Yeah, and I think that's it for me unless there's questions. I do see a question which I don't mind addressing from Yale Nelson. It's it's about fireworks with fires. So we're gonna have a very comprehensive meeting with the mayor and the commissioner and the board about the plan we have with the fireworks. It's very frustrating, and difficult when you're on by yourself, or even if you have two people, when fireworks are going off everywhere and you're on the beach and you're working and you're trying to address one person. And before you get there, they're going off behind you and you're trying to figure out which direction to head in. And, you know, they're not legal, it's not safe. You know, we don't want to be the fun police and ruin people's nights. But they are illegal and there is a risk of injury and property damage. So they do need to be addressed, and we're gonna really hope the community will work with us so we don't have to take measures, you know, enforcement measures, which we really don't want to do.
And Brian, you know, last year they shut down the bridge during the fireworks display in town, and that just adds a level of risk. If something goes off here, you know, you've got all those crowds in West Hampton Beach clogging the route to get out here for the volunteer fire department. So, you know, it's great. I agree. It's, you know, they're fun to watch and everything, but it is really dangerous.
And they are illegal.
They're illegal.
And they're illegal.
They're illegal.
And it's very, listen, we know the community and the community knows us. We don't take any joy in going to somebody that's with their children and they're putting up, and we don't want to
What if
ruin
we-
your night, but they're just not legal and it's putting us all in a very bad position.
What if we implement a very strict fining policy?
There already is.
There
We just-
is?
Yeah, I'm saying we
How
do.
much is it? Is
Well,
there
depending on the
something- and we Notify
classification.
everybody in writing, you know, if you're caught doing it this year, this is what your fine is, and it will be enforced.
Depending on the
I think we may
classification, it could be
determine
misdemeanor, depending on what classification
No.
firework it actually is. So you're talking about
So we make a
physically,
financial-
possibly taking someone into
financial.
custody.
Well, financial.
Yeah, so it's not, if this is not,
No, but I'm talking about a
Right.
financial fine.
right, that's set by the court, yes, there's
And
a
there's a
fine.
number that's set,
There
and
is by law, yeah.
we should let everyone know what that is, and hopefully it's
I don't know if we wanna do that.
significant enough to deter people.
Just go and say, hey, you know, you really.
Put it out.
Well, last year was an exceptional year. In previous years, it just, you know, it goes up and down. I've been here, this is 28 years, you know, and it's just last year was just an exceptional year, and it was literally, you didn't know which, I was working, I was there. And I had Officer Jacobs with me, and we were trying to figure out, we split it up, you head this way.
And what do you do when you go to the?
So most of the time when you get there, you can smell the fireworks, you can see the debris, you know you're doing, please stop, take what, you know, if you have anything left, take it, just get on, and most of the times you'll get compliance, but now you're going on to the next one, and then they're starting. It's also sometimes, you know, it all stops, and then you just get random ones that go off, and we'll still get the calls, and trying to determine where that came from on the beach in the dark is a nightmare. you know?
They're not gonna do it.
So, it's more, the fine isn't the issue, it's taking the time you're talking about, it's an appearance ticket. So you'd have to take the time to come to court on a Monday to answer to a judge who listens to our community, to explain to him why you were out doing this, you know? This is just not the environment to do it. The community's changed, it's much more dense, we have just a lot of people. And, you know, hopefully this year we can get more compliance. So I just addressed that question. I'll put off the rest to when we get to the open forum. Do you want to
No,
continue?
yes, trustee Mulhern wanted to say a couple of things, so
Yeah,
it'll be a good time for her to speak.
so, I got a letter, this week from, one of our residents that was questioning the size of 686 Dune Road, which is a new house, actually kind of a nice house. So our building inspector went down and, I have a full letter, which I will not read, but basically the project was approved under the previous administration on November sixth of 2023. The setbacks comply with the village code, lot coverage complies with the village code, building height complies with the village code, and the building complies with the village pyramid law. So that building is in compliance at 686. I just want to say to anybody that, look, this letter wasn't signed. I don't know whether that was purposeful or not, but certainly, I'm your friend and neighbor, and please feel free to contact me with any concerns that you have in the village, and we'll follow up on it. We're a responsive government and we want to do that. So please feel free and don't be concerned about signing letters or not. We're not going to disclose who is questioning things. We just want to know what's going on and what your concerns are. Okay, the other one is a bigger issue, and it's kind of a continuation of other things that I've been talking about over the course of this past half a year. And I'll just start with a little quote that I thought was pretty good. It was President Lincoln said, "The legitimate work of government is to do for the people what needs to be done, but which they cannot, by individual effort, do at all or do well for themselves." And we sort of experienced this as a village when we came together back in the mid-90s. By banding together then, we were able to restore our beach and rebuild the homes that we love now. In 2014, the trustees established the Beach Preservation Reserve Fund. The amount of the assessment has varied over the years and was at a high at 500. It was split between Ocean and Bayside, and it's currently now at $300 for every resident. As we all know, the prices have dramatically increased in the last 10 years. The value of our homes has increased significantly as well. I feel that the number one priority in the village is to keep our homes safe from the impacts of sea level rise and the powerful storms. And, as Brian alluded to, the wildfires out in California and the flooding from the hurricanes that went through the center of the country, the storms are getting much more violent. They're carrying much more water in them. The winds are stronger. If you're out here all year, which I am, you notice that every storm that blows through, where winds used to be 20 miles an hour, now they're 30 or 40 miles an hour. There's more wave action on the Bayside. It's just much more dramatic. Our weather is changing. Being proactive on our ocean front means building our dunes wider and stronger with a regular program of sand fencing. On our Bayside, the rehabilitation of wetlands and the rebuilding of the beaches there that have been lost to erosion should provide flood protection, just like it did for the 20 years that we've lived here. To do this work, we need to raise money to pay for it. The work is comprised of a scientific study first to understand the motion of the waves and the winds that are causing the erosion. The second phase is to design a Bayside plan that protects us well into the future, is acceptable to the regulatory bodies, and there are many, and we are a very sensitive area with a lot of creatures that live here, some of them that are on the endangered species list, and that it's something that we can do and is an affordable plan. Then we have to implement the plan and prioritize it by necessity throughout the village. So I look at this as sort of a long-term thing. If our community is proactive and our shorelines are prepared for the future, it's less likely for us to suffer damages. There's an old expression that a stitch in time saves 9. By being proactive and taking the steps I've described, I believe we are protecting ourselves. By banding together as we did in the 90s, our small village can have a powerful impact on our future. I'm recommending to the trustees that we increase the assessment for homeowners to $1,000 for this coming year. I know it's a big jump from 300 to 1,000, but the things that I'm proposing are expensive. And there are several people at the beginning of our village in the Village Improvement District that can testify to the cost of the type of work that we're proposing. So look, if anybody wants to have input on the assessment increase, again, contact myself or Robin here at the village clerk and give us your thoughts. But I just feel now is the time. We've been experiencing pretty good weather. We just had this oceanfront replacement. There's a lot of sand on the beach. I feel that we should have a regular fencing program that we put in throughout the village about every 5 years, take advantage of the sand that was just put there so that we can trap it and build those dunes out as big as we can. And I think we need to, as I've expressed before, have a village-wide plan that assesses and figures out something that will fix is a, is a lofty word, that will turn back the clock on the Bayside flooding issues. And the way I see this, I've talked to now several different firms, and they're coastal geologists, they're engineering firms, they're people that have done a lot of work out here. And it's gonna be a myriad of small projects that address different issues in the village. There's gonna be wetlands that need to be retopped and raise the level of so that they can grow back, so you have this living shoreline thing. There's gonna be sand replacement on some of the beaches. There may be bulkheading in some of the channels where the water's coming in. But all of that, we need to start the process. We need to be smart about how we approach this, look at what's causing it, follow some of the models. It's not like this has not been done. It's being done all over the world right now. And there are a lot of good ideas for this, but we need to start to work on the process. And the reason I need to increase the assessment is I have to be able to contract the professionals, and we'll do this in a very open manner with the village. You know, all of us will be involved, and we'll tell you the process, we'll tell you where everything's gonna go out for 3 bids, but we need to have the ability to start and understand the problem in a holistic way, and then we need to go talk to the regulators, and Irwin has set up, or is in the process of setting up a meeting with the head of Region 1. I have a meeting set up next week with the Southampton trustees. So we're working on this, and we're trying to do this for everybody in the village. And I know $1,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in the overall scheme of things, it's probably a couple of dinners out in West Hampton. And when you consider that against the value of our homes, any flooding that takes place here is gonna impact all of us. And it just results in us not selling our homes in the future or not preserving our homes for the next generation. So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I made contact with, Malloy Sustainability, in Amityville. That's where they're located right now. As you may remember, Malloy Sustainability administers a lot of the NYSERDA programs that are available. But right now, I spoke to, Neil Lewis's assistant, Andrew Mannett, and he's a good friend. I've been working with him for a number of years. The old program is pretty much been whittled out, so to speak, and they're going to be, along with moving, they are going to be administering a new program right now estimated to be in April. I will be attending that meeting, and it's going to be back in Amityville, the old MV office. Right, but they have moved their offices. The Malloy Group has moved to western, I don't have the exact location, but they're in the western part of their territory with Rockville Center. And so they're going through a lot of changes right now, but a lot of the programs they had have pretty much been spent, you know. So we're waiting on the new programs. They're looking forward to work with us.
And this is on flooding issues?
No,
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 oh,
this,
oh,
I'm just,
no, this is.
I'm sorry, the
You
acronym. I
segued
didn't
into,
get.
yes, no.
Okay,
yeah, no,
This is
this,
in reference to energy
right,
Oh,
efficiency.
okay,
energy efficiency and sustainability.
got it.
And the other thing is, reference the fact that they have moved. They're not in the Amityville old DMV anymore, at least they aren't. Other parts of Malloy are, but it's become more of.
Are we talking about energy efficiency for this office? And I'm confused
Well,
as
it
to
can
where,
be, yeah.
but where are we, because individual homeowners, they have their own power sources. And I'm just trying to understand where this would benefit the village, exactly.
Well, this would benefit the village wholly, and we were at one point when the new constabulary was being formed. We had a village actually in this building, and I worked with powers that be here. Brian attended that meeting along with
So
others.
it's energy efficiencies in this building mainly.
Well, no, it's energy efficiency for everyone, every municipality, but the programs have to fit. you know, they administer the NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority program.
Down there.
Yeah, so that's what it was. We got limited benefits, but.
We're not a big energy user, so our
Right.
benefits are limited, unfortunately.
So-
So I'm still trying to see how he can, what benefits he can derive for us.
Right.
Right, so I had a good conversation with them, basically to not only hear what they have to say, but let them know we have a new administration now. And we're looking to work with you guys fully, so I'll be at the next meeting, which I believe is gonna be in April,
Oh, great,
all right? So that's what I just wanted to report.
Thank you, John.
thank you.
Carrie, you want to start reading through the resolution?
Let me start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Resolution approving each of the claim vouchers submitted for audit and approval by the Board of Trustees.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye.
resolution waiving the reading of and approving the minutes of January 9th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting.
I should pick this
Second.
up.
All those in favor?
Yes, yeah, I don't want to, yes, I don't know, that's good.
Yeah, okay. Resolution creating and appointing a Board of Assessment Review with members Robin Laverman, Marshall Hagan, Lauren Nanarello, and Jeff Bookman.
Someone second it?
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
resolution creating and
So,
appointing. a
well, that
planning-
one has to be, let's just skip that one for a
Yeah, let's
second,
skip
we'll,
that
we'll
one.
go back to that in a second, okay?
Go to five.
All right, so go to, well, actually, I'll read, well. So what I was able to, this resolution, I'll read the resolution, then
Only four?
I'll explain it.
We're on four and
Five.
five.
Resolution to approve an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Southampton for the purchase of fuel for the village of West Hampton Dunes vehicles. Subject to the attorney, our attorney review. Basically, we found out that instead of buying gas without taxes at a gas station, we can actually buy gas through an intermunicipal agreement with Suffolk County or with the town of Southampton. And the town of Southampton is right by us on Old Riverhead Road. They're available 24 hours a day, and they're not gonna charge us any kind of surcharge. So any kind of bulk state contract discount they got on gasoline, we can now use for basically the constabulary police vehicles and our trucks. So that should save the village some money. The town of Southampton actually approved the resolution on Tuesday, and they'll be sending us over the documents shortly, and hopefully that'll save the village some more money in terms of our
Great.
expenses. So I just wanted to explain what that is. And, can we get a second on the motion?
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Resolution to allow the mayor to attend the NICOM Association of Towns NYAOT Lobby Day in Albany on March 4th, 2025.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jared, did you want to read, the thing in reference to the planning board?
Yeah, so the resolution will be amended. It's a resolution scheduling a public hearing on a local law establishing a village planning board for March 13th, 2025 at 6 P M. The local law will be published for public comment and for comment at the public hearing.
It turns out that the village never adopted a local law to have a planning board. And in order to do certain things in the village, we need to have a planning board. So we are now going through this process of adopting the local law to have a planning board so that we can approve. We have a subdivision that's pending in the village that already got approved by the zoning board, and we need a planning board to actually approve that. So we're trying to get that done to help continue the process. And in order to do it, we found out that, speaking,
It addresses a legal infirmity in the code that there's no established planning board. If it was done by resolution. The predecessor village attorney did not have a copy of that
And
resolution.
the trustees and the mayor can be,
No, the law is going to provide for an independent board, so they'll have to be, appointments made subject to.
so you then
trustees
appoint
review.
people, or how's it
Yeah,
gonna work?
so
Well-
the way it would work under the amended law would be, the appointments would be done by the mayor, subject to the board's confirmation, and then there'd be a vote to establish the board.
I think initially, due to a time constraint, and normally we do appointments in July,
Right.
I think the Board of Trustees will interimly act as the planning board, and then hopefully by July, we will be
I
able to
understand.
appoint. some
So we need
people
board to-
from the village, and again, if some people from the board of trustees, you know, again, they wouldn't be excluded, but we would like to. Listen, I'd like to get as many volunteers as we can in the village to help us with these different, you know, these different positions, and also, again, we're still trying to, as I sent out in my mayor's catch the other day, we still like to have not only the annual movie night for the kids, we'd like to have a bonfire, we'd like to try to do a picnic / barbecue. We'd like to do maybe an adult movie night and try to have, you know, one social event a month, so people that, you know, want to get together and, you know, and you know, enjoy the community and some of the things that used to happen in the past. We're hoping to do that, and Nina is kind of spearheading the committee for some of that stuff, and anybody else would be interested in volunteering. We welcome your input, your ideas, and your efforts.
I think we need a vote on this though. Scheduling the hearing for March 13th, 2025 at 6 P M.
Okay, so we need, so
I'd
we,
like to make a motion that we schedule the hearing for March 13, 2025 to, what is it, Jared?
It's a resolution scheduling a public hearing on the local law establishing a village planning board.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
second, all those in favor?
Or what would be helpful is if we can let people know what the role would be, so if people volunteer or we find people to do it, they'll know how involved it would be and what the planning board has to do, maybe we
Yes.
put something together.
For the most part, the planning board, at least historically, previously in the village, dealt with,
I'm sorry, Mayor, just to interject, the local law is gonna provide for, you know, what the scope of review is, what considerations the planning board, so it'll be sort of self-explanatory, but this is now a 24 page local law, so it had to be since it didn't exist, not only do you have to create the body, you also have to describe accurately what the parameters, you know, within which they operate, so that'll all be
So
Do you
included.
think
clear.
that you could,
Yeah, we can give you
cheat sheet?
a reader's digest.
Yeah, I
Cliff-
think- yeah,
the cliff
yeah.
the
notes,
cliff
right?
notes would be,
Right.
you know, just like page A, so that, you
Absolutely.
know, everybody knows what a time commitment and what the responsibilities are, would be much better to
Very
get.
good, you know,
Absolutely.
Okay, true.
That's our next meeting, March 13th.
Do you want
Oh,
any questions?
well, no, now we're gonna do now we'll open the public comment. If somebody wants to, you know, ask a question about something we discussed first, let's start with that, and then if somebody wants to share anything else,
Okay.
let's please.
Michael Stern has his hand up. Michael?
Hi, guys. Hi, yeah, it's Michael Stern. I'm at 725 Dune Road. I just wanted to comment on the planning board issue. I am all in favor of us doing the things we need to do to comply with state law. I think that's very important. But I have a pretty acute concern that a planning board can become essentially a discretionary review of architecture, of house layout, of land use, of all sorts of things that are already permitted as of right in our zoning code and in our building code. I live in a village the rest of the year that has a building inspector, a planning board, a zoning board, and an architectural review board, and has suffered from ill definitions of what each's role is, to the point where essentially anytime you do a renovation of a home in that village, you have to convince 3 separate boards to like what you are doing, even if it complies with everything in the zoning code and everything in the state code. And it makes construction incredibly expensive. It makes things time consuming. I have a very close friend who bought a new house and is moving out of his own house and is 9 months into a review process with a bunch of construction trucks sitting there, and he's paying interest and all of these other things. All of the things that the trustee, I'm sorry, I forget who it was, spoke about in terms of long-term environmental preservation. By the way, at some point, we're going to have to start paying a bunch more money over time for the beach preservation as well. All of these things that we all want to do to preserve our property are really expensive, and we need a village that has high property values and growing property values and a dynamic construction sector, because the way property values increase is people spend money on their homes. And anything we do to make that more difficult I think will adversely affect things. So as I said, I'm all for doing things to comply with state law, but I think I would suggest that that folks go over the proposed law with a fine tooth comb, such that it is to approve things like subdivisions and other extraordinary items. It does not become a de facto review of every construction project, renovation, repainting the front of my house kind of thing in the village, as it tends to do in New York's villages.
Michael, let me address that because I'm doing almost the opposite of almost everything you just said, and I understand everything you just said. The reason I'm doing the planning board is basically we need to approve a subdivision. And I'm trying to expedite this process so that the subdivision that the zoning board already approved can then be constructed and built. And I'm trying to do this to get the process going fast for them, not to delay them. And so the intent of the planning board is really initially just to approve the one subdivision that we have pending. And since the village does not really have a lot of land, I don't think there'll be too many other subdivisions that'll be approved after this one. I won't say it's a one and done. I mean, there is another lot that, again, got a variance for subdivision, but never applied for it. But again, legally, we need to put the planning board in place to approve the subdivision. And I'm trying to, and since this was approved about 7-8 months ago, and they now have submitted an application, we need to form the planning board to help expedite it. You know, basically, my feeling is that I want to cut the red tape and get things done. It's as fast as possible for anybody. I want people trying to build in the off season. I don't want them interrupting the people during the season. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to try to make that happen. So I understand what you're saying, that in certain villages, and I've been a victim of that, it's run amok, but that's not the intent here at all. The intent here is to get things expedited.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I know that there are a lot of, lingering issues that over, the last 15 or 20 years were sort of done a certain way. And, people come in and relook at them and they say, oh, well, we can't really do this by resolution, but New York State says we need a planning board to do these sorts of things or to do them with finality. I have no problem with any of that. I'm totally supportive of all of the efforts you and your co-trustees and the staff are making to sort of clean up outstanding issues in the village. I wanted to sort of raise that note of caution, which I know you're well aware of my views on this, and I think you have, and others have similar views that this should be to approve the things it has to approve, not and anything else.
Correct. And again, if something was done incorrectly in the past, me and this administration does not want to perpetuate that. So we're actually going through the pain to correct it and then get this, things resolved and adjudicated and do it the right way. And that's why we have to go through this process. And that's why, again, it's a transparent process to be shared with everybody. But I don't want to drag it on that, again, the subdivision or this developer has to, then I have no dog in this fight, would be unduly delayed by minutia. So that's where I stand on this.
Chad, you wanna go?
I just had a quick question, which was, what was the date you're going to publish the draft resolution for review?
It'll be published soon. It should be published tomorrow.
In advance of 30 days before the hearing, or yes?
Yes, that's the answer.
Okay, thank you.
Mike Craig, I think I saw you.
Yeah, hi guys. Thanks for taking my question. So guys, I just want to address Gina's comments about the beach renourishment funds. So first of all, I agree. As one of the founders of that fund, I agree. I want to see it grow and thrive. Listen, I think $300 was a nice place to start. I agree it needs to go higher, but I think a jump to 1,000 is probably too much. So somewhere in between is probably fair. And then I've got a suggestion. I mean, I was down the road a good long way with Fred Thiel's office in creating, the transfer tax. I think the transfer tax would benefit the beach nourishment fund at a faster rate with the sale of homes in the village than simply taking another $300 or $700 from our residents. So I'm happy to talk to Gina about it if you want to, continue that conversation. We would need to draft a law. We had the language. Joe was pretty close. Lisa Lombardo from Fred Thiel's office was helping with it, and I think Fred retired or is about to. But it would require, an assembly and a state senate to bring it to Albany. But I think we had good traction. Seemed like the residents were in favor of it. So it's just something to consider.
Mike, I appreciate that input. If you want to share anything you had in previous conversations with them, that's one of the reasons why I'm going up to Albany on March 4th, so I can talk to Senator Palumbo and our new Assemblyman Tommy John Schiavone, who took over for Fred Thiel. So any laws we need to have passed specific to the village, there are certain things we can't do as a village, but the state can do on our behalf. If an example, not that we would be doing it, is if we had red light cameras, which we don't have red lights, those types of things have to be put in the legislation, but the assemblyman and the senator are very supportive of that. And if you can get this to me sooner than later, it'll be on the agenda to discuss with them when I'm up in Albany, and then follow up with them locally. So thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send it to you, Robin. It's a lot of email traffic between Lisa and I, and I think I've got even the last draft language. We were very close.
I think that's a good suggestion, and it is a good option. The reason that I brought up this assessment tonight is we finish our budget next month, and there's a timing issue here. Honestly, there's a chicken and the egg issue too. Without starting the process and knowing that you have the money to pay people, or some money to pay, at least starting the process, you can't move forward. And I don't want to wait another year. I think we just got repumped here on the ocean side. That's great. We can get sand fencing in the fall. That's great. It holds the sand that we just got on our beach. So that's one part of the timing. The other thing is the flooding on the bay side is, Mike, I think in your area down there, and it's in several areas of the village. And any of these processes take time, because there's planning, there's design, there's bidding on all of that. Then there's going to be the implementation. And we honestly just don't know what it costs. So getting that groundwork first, just to get the plan, see if it's feasible, put it in front of the regulators, is the way I see the first step. And we need some money to get that piece done. We'll make that open to everybody to see and for their input, because it's going to involve all of us. And then we'll move from there. And you know what? If we don't need the money, great. Things come in, but it's just not the way things are going in today's environment. Everything you do is expensive. So, we just need to build that fund a little bit, just get ahead of this thing so that we can do the planning things and know where we're going in the future.
So we had about $1 million in that fund as of the last budget. What do you think this initial outlay is going to be? I mean,
I don't think we're prepared to discuss. I don't think we're prepared to discuss that. Regina just wanted to basically say that she thinks we should increase the fund. This was her thought, and again, we weren't voting on it tonight. We were just kind of opening it up to the village as a discussion, and we can,
And the plan is to work on the budget, and when we get through the budget numbers and we look at what potentially the assessment is, we're gonna take all the things into consideration before, the bills go out. But we wanted to be able to figure it all out before the tax bills go out.
Ken Goldberg.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, Ken, we can't hear you. Hold on. Can you unmute yourself?
There we go. Thank you, Robin. Mine is new business. If we're done with the old business, I'll proceed. Otherwise, I'll wait till we're done with the old business.
It's fine. Just go talk.
Okay, so I spoke to Irwin today. I have a situation with three of my neighbors, 851, I'm at 853 Dune Road, 851, 853, 855, and 832. We have an access to go to the bay at 830B, which has been obstructed over the last 8 months. Through a lot of hard work and resources, we finally got the Southampton trustees to pass a resolution of enforcement regarding the removal of the fence. So I wanted to know, in the fact that they've now stepped forward and admitted that this fence is up there illegally, what the mayor, it's been my understanding since I've been a resident for the last 23 or 24 years, it's his obligation to protect its residents, what the mayor is going to do for me and my three neighbors in regards to having this fence removed, which has been deemed illegal.
Mr. Gold, the mayor was kind enough to provide me with a copy of the resolution that the trustees had adopted.
That's Goldberg, by the way.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
Mr. Goldberg.
Sorry, forgive me, Mr. Goldberg. The mayor, certainly takes his obligations to protect the village very seriously. Unfortunately, though, the resolution that he's provided to me, and that seems that was passed, authorizes the trustees to authorized to sign any and all documents necessary to commence the action. So the good news is the trustees are going to be pursuing this. The village, though, does not have jurisdiction to commence an action itself. So it looks like things are moving in the right direction, and the trustees are planning on doing this. I see this is dated just 3 days ago, February 10th. So I imagine they'll start moving quickly.
Do you have any idea of when they will move?
I don't. This, according to the resolution, it's resolved that the president is hereby authorized to sign any and all documents necessary to commence the action. So this was just adopted February 10th. I imagine they're going to move with haste. And I suggest if you have any questions to reach out to them, and we could reach out to them too, just about status, but the village can't take action itself.
Okay, so I would appreciate that, but I also want to definitively, you're telling me there is nothing the village could do on our behalf.
That's right. That's correct.
Because like I said, I've been a resident for over 20 years, and this is news to me. This is news to me. When we get a resolution passed by the town of Southampton trustees saying that the fence is illegal, and I can't get help by my government to stand up and say, when is this fence coming down? It's illegal. We all know it's illegal. What's going on? And you're telling me you can't do anything. I find that hard to believe. But if that's your position,
that's my position. I'm sticking with it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's not our jurisdiction, right?
Chad?
I just wanted to point out one thing is that prior when you were talking about the dark sky issue that was brought up, I just wanted to point out that I put in the chat that the village does have a dark sky ordinance in the code. It's the Southampton model ordinance. So I just wanted everybody to clear that confusion from the conversation before, and it's in the chat link to the village code section.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Any other new business, any other comments? Again, I want to remind everybody that we would like to have a brunch this Sunday. If you're available, it'll be here at 9:06 at 10:30 in the morning. Please reach out to Robin tomorrow. And
We want to talk about this, number 4. Did we mention that? Number 4. Civil report, looking for. Okay.
Yeah, it's up to the mayor.
yeah, he did.
That's fine.
Okay.
Hey, look,
Then-
everybody, if you want to reach out to us, please feel free. We're all here and open ears to talk about any problems that you have. So don't hesitate.
All right, we're going to now adjourn the meeting, and we're going to go into executive session to talk about a personnel and a legal issue.
Don't adjourn yet, just motion to enter into
Well,
executive
we're
session.
motion to enter into an executive session.
Second.
Okay.
Right, so you have to close Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zoom.
Sure you can.
Oh, yeah. I gotta end it.
Yes.
Okay, going off and are we coming back on after executive?
It's only to adjourn.
I want to adjourn.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna end this, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank